Right, thanks for staying with us, everyone. We're watching what now? We're talking about the UK, France, Germany, and some European leaders sort of proposing security guarantees for Ukraine once, if a peace deal is signed with Russia, and what that security guarantees would look like. I'll be speaking with journalist Francis Hughes, who joins us from Ireland. But just before we get back to that conversation with him, he did mention the world order, and I wanted to just give you the latest on Greenland, where President Trump, following an announcement by United States, President Trump to take over Greenland. Leaders from major European powers and Canada have rallied behind the region. The leaders of the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, and Denmark issued a statement saying, quote, "Greenland belongs to its people, and only Denmark can decide on matters concerning their relations," end quote. They are also calling for upholding of principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. Hours after the 6 European leaders expressed support for Denmark, the White House released a statement saying that acquiring Greenland, a semi-autonomous region of fellow NATO member Denmark, is a national security priority. All right, so let's bring in Francis Hughes back into the conversation as we pivot, from Ukraine to Greenland and just look at the connecting point between both countries. Thank you so much for staying with us, Mr. Hughes. You earlier were touching on the global world order and how basically you do not trust it, especially with the news coming from the media in those countries. I wanted to ask you, just get your thought as well on Greenland, where 8 decades after World War II, Greenland is becoming a hotter spot. Let's not forget the Gulf of Mexico being renamed by President Trump, and the idea that Canada could also become its 51st state. What do you make of President Trump's territorial expansionism?
I think it's incredible to listen to what this man says in the public domain. Some of it's for the internal consumption of the American population. But if we look at the connections between Ukraine, between Venezuela, between China, between Iran, and we go to Greenland, what we seem to have is some people are under the impression that the kidnapping of Maduro and the attacks upon Venezuela is in order to stop oil being transported from Venezuela to China. Then there's the petrodollar, because the people in Venezuela are not using the petrodollar, they're using the local currency like the yuan in exchange for their oil when it's delivered to other countries. So what you have is a potential failure of the dollar and the petrodollar. So in order to protect that, you have this attack upon Venezuela. You had the same in Libya when Gaddafi wanted to use the gold standard and have monies backed in Africa by gold and not by the fiat currency where you simply print money. So there's the fear of the de-dollarization. Then Trump is saying that China and Russia are all over the Arctic, and that he wants Greenland because it is essential to the national security of the United States. What he wants is the minerals and whatever natural resources are in the Arctic for American corporations. So we're back to the circle where I believe that American corporations give him, potentially the oil companies, $500 billion as part of his electoral campaign. Maybe this is his payback. He's trying to get the oil for Venezuela into the American companies, and that's his thank you for backing him to become the president. So you have this continuation of American hegemony, of economic strength and economic stranglehold on the West. So by cutting off oil from Venezuela to China, they're trying to affect the Chinese economy. By claiming to take over Greenland. This is about potential resources in the Antarctic going forward, and also potential sea routes that can be closed, because the Americans are very, very worried about the Belt and Road Initiative that is being financed and is being carried out by China across Africa and into parts of Asia. So will the Americans and the British and the EU use military adventurism in order to exploit the natural resources of the countries that they designate and target for regime change and the installation of puppet governments? What the Chinese do is they come into countries, they offer to build terminals, they offer to build ports, they offer to build high-speed railways in conjunction with the countries that they want to work in collaboration with. This is the difference between the semi-autonomous communist regime in China and the fully capitalist regime that we have in America and the West. So they want to prevent the Belt and Road Initiative. They want to keep American hegemony over the world order. They want to keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency, because this makes money for the American banking system. Every time I send money to Gaza to help people during the genocidal ethnic cleansing of Gaza, it must go through American banks, and charges are made on every transaction. So it's an attempt by, you could almost see Trump sitting in a room with his advisors saying, what do we need to do? And he appears to have the political will, along with the military might, to follow through on what 10 years ago might have been aspirational, and nowadays seems more likely to be accomplished, because this man is outside international law. This man cares nothing for human life. This man, he is a landlord. He owns hotels. He owns huge swathes of American homes and commerce, and he treats the presidency as if it's a landlord. So you have someone you don't like, you put them out. You have something you need, you go and buy it, you corrupt someone in the background in order to achieve your aims. The man has very low morals. He has very low humanity. He has no compassion, and he treats the world as his own personal fiefdom, where he's using the American military, financial, and political class in order to promote not just himself, his son, his family, and his close associates, but the interests of American capitalism to the detriment of the poor in the global south, in West Asia, and also the people in America itself.
Interesting points there. We're following that development in Europe and in the US as well. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Francis Hughes, a journalist from Ireland.
Thank you. You're welcome.